Welcome, Viral Snap listeners. This is episode 12 of your favorite podcast for breaking down big topics in under 5 minutes. I'm Zoe Finch.
And I'm Ethan Haze. Today we're diving into something that sounds, a little heavy, but it's super fascinating. We're talking about societal collapse, like civilizations just poof.
Exactly. And before you start hoarding canned goods, we're going to unpack what societal collapse actually means, why it happens, and, what that could mean for us.
So, it's interesting because traditionally people thought of societal collapse as like a total flattening of hierarchies where everything just breaks down. But newer research, like from Steele and his colleagues, suggests it's more about a loss of collective capacity to meet the basic needs of the population. Think of it more like a house crumbling, not just a changing floor plan.
Yeah, it's not just about a messy breakup. It's about not being able to feed people or keep them safe. It really changes the stakes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And speaking of rapid decline, there's this concept called the Seneca Effect, named after the Roman philosopher. He noted that while growth is sluggish, ruin is rapid. Like you build a sandcastle for hours and then one big wave just erases it. Or a blockbuster, slow growth, sudden bankruptcy. It's essentially about cascading failures in complex systems.
So what actually causes these massive collapses? Are there common threads throughout history?
Well, there are a few big theories, actually. One is Tainter's complexity theory. He argues that societies try to solve problems by getting more and more complex, right? But eventually the costs of that complexity, the energy and resources needed to maintain it, they start to outweigh the benefits. So it becomes unsustainable and then collapse. And then there's Peter Turchin's idea of elite overproduction. Basically, if you have too many educated, aspiring elites competing for a limited number of high-status jobs, it creates massive social instability. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen, but they're all Harvard grads with no jobs. This leads to massive inequality, which is a huge driver of collapse, historically speaking.
So is this just like an ancient history thing? Or is our modern, super interconnected world also susceptible to aging and collapsing?
Good question. And unfortunately, no, we're not immune. Luke Kemp, a researcher at Cambridge, he argues that self-termination is actually most likely for our global civilization. He points out that historical collapses were often regional and sometimes even beneficial for ordinary citizens who were freed from oppressive regimes. But today, our global Goliath, as he calls it, is hyper interconnected, and a global collapse would be catastrophic for everyone.
That's sobering. So with all this talk of climate change, nuclear weapons, and AI, what can we actually do?
Well, Kemp has some advice. He points out that often when societies face problems, they pull the levers in the wrong direction. Like if you're trying to fix a leaky faucet, but you just keep tightening the wrong screw, Instead, he suggests a few things. First, genuine democratic societies to level power. He puts it pretty simply, actually. Don't be a dick.
That's a good one to remember. So it sounds like understanding these historical patterns and changing our systems and behaviors is key. It's not about being pessimistic, but being prepared.
Precisely. It's about facing the mess we're in, cultivating what's called active hope and, striving for systemic change. Because as the saying goes, life finds a way, but we can certainly help it along.
On that hopeful yet practical note, that's all the time we have for this episode of Viral Snap. Thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time for another viral topic, snapped and served.